And I remember Wayne Salmons had this journal that he wanted me to fill out. Every year he makes us fill out the Epic Life Planner. And it took me like I don't know why it took me so long to do it. Like I put that thing off for like ever. And he goes, all right, when are you going to have that done by? Because it was like the last thing I had to get done in order for him to certify me as a coach. And I said, son, I'll have it done by Monday. All right, what are you going to do if you don't have it done? And I was like, what do you mean?
$1,000.
He goes, who's one of your competitors in the area that you really don't like? I was like, I like everybody. He's like, come on, man, dig deep. And I told him a name, and he goes, if you don't have it done by Monday, you're going to write a check for $500
there you go.
to them in a card and write a nice note to them. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that one
That's
hurts.
motivating.
That one stings. Yeah. Not so much here, but here.
Right here.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Contacts to Contracts podcast. I am Bryan Lovell with Senior John Jones as our co-host, and we have a very special guest with us today. Coach, branch manager, loan originator extraordinaire, Mr. Anthony Mosley,
all the way from Michigan. Welcome to Florida, Anthony.
Hey, welcome.
And
Thank you.
And first and foremost, man, get yourself a public sub.
Oh, a public sub is right after this. I'm going to get the Bryan Lovell.
Yeah, that's what you got to get.
Yeah, what is that again?
If you go to the counter and just say, hey, can I get a Bryan Lovell, they will know exactly how to make it. But in case they don't, what you do is you get the chicken tenders. They chop them up, and then they toss them in wing sauce, put them on the sandwich roll.
God, I'm getting hungry.
Put some cheddar cheese on top of that. Or if you want to get adventurous, you just do it in a wrap.
Oh, I heard the bread is awesome at Publix.
It's great.
That's like the big
that
thing.
Right there's the Bryan Lovell. No, you don't need any vegetables, just the chicken tenders and the cheddar cheese. Boom.
No vegetables.
Bryan Lovell.
Yeah.
Boom. That sounds good. I'm down for it. I'll be filming that today too.
I can't wait.
It's going to be amazing.
I
Can't wait.
No buzz bombs for that.
No buzz bombs. So we figured we have a conversation with Anthony. I think among a lot of things, one of the things he's most well known for is coaching, something that's a true passion of his. So we figured we just get together with Anthony while we're taking advantage of him being in town, and we'd have some conversations about coaching.
Yeah, all the time, man. I mean, your life, you either spend learning or teaching. And I think the reason I fell in love with coaching so much is, for one, I'm a big fan of the underdog. And for two, to teach is to learn again. Mm-hmm. So the more you teach, it just keeps coming back in you. And you pick up more and more. It's really weird, and you start getting more clarity, and then a different idea comes. So whether it's your kids, sports teams, whether it's your spouse or, the people you work with, if you believe in helping people, I mean, you have to have some content there to help them expand. Mm-hmm. So, the cool thing about coaching is there's no original ideas.
No.
So some people will say, hey, I've heard John Maxwell say that, or hey, I've heard Diane Kokoska say that. It's okay, right?
Right.
Take it and own it. But where people get it wrong, though, is coaching is not a one-size-fit-all thing. Mm-hmm. And some people, there's certain coaching programs out there, and they're very successful, but they're very successful for one personality type of people.
Correct. So
where you have so much failure in the real estate industry, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it's like 95% fail, right, in real estate. And then as LOs, I'd say it's probably greater.
I think statistics after 2 years in the business that only 1 out of 10 still in the business.
1 out of 10 real estate agents are still in the business?
Loan officers, LOs.
Oh, really?
So, both real estate and loan officers, extremely difficult. You've got to be self-driven, and most important, you have to have a great mentor. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're getting in this business, no matter what level, whether you're a top producer or you're a rookie, to get to that next level and to maintain the level you're at, you need to get back on track and have a coach that's going to hold you accountable.
What you said there is right, and it's so many people. So we're in the mortgage industry as well, right? And people say, why is one company better than another? And there's this Facebook group, New LOs, and they're always asking, should I go work here? Should I go work there? Should I be a broker? Should I be a lender? Doesn't really. What you should be looking at is what's the support and the mentors that you have. And another thing that has shocked the living hell out of me is the amount of incompetence that other institutions have out there. The fact that their employees have to get on a Facebook forum and ask the most basic of questions that they should have learned in school.
Yeah.
And they're on Facebook asking, and it's disheartening because I do give a right?
Yeah. 100%.
And I don't want to see anybody fail. But when you're out there, if you're watching this, like, it's not, don't go out there and demand all the money at once and think that you can go start your own business and you're going to be super successful, because you're only as good as your last transaction, for one.
Yeah.
Right.
You only got so many bridges you could burn. And, 3 is find a mentor and learn the art of condensing time, Find someone who's done it all and really failed a lot, like us.
Yeah.
Yep.
20-something years in the industry. I now take that knowledge and I'll give it, somebody 2 days to 2 weeks for them to learn everything I learned in
Sure.
freaking 20 years.
I think you just said something important there because, and I'll say specific to give some credibility to what you're talking about. You're in the mortgage business. You've been in the mortgage business for like 20 years. Primarily, your coaching is in the mortgage business with mortgage professionals. So like, you're not just a coach, but you're a mentor. There's a difference.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Right. So like, a coach isn't somebody who necessarily has to have ever walked a mile in your shoes, but a mentor in every case has
walked in those shoes.
And in this particular arena, you've kind of got both.
Yeah. So, a coach is important. The mentor thing is great. We collaboratively mentor a lot of people. It's very important for everybody to have a mentor and be a mentee.
Good point. Yep.
But the difference with coaching is coaching is helping you get to where you want to be today faster. Creating the accountability, helping you build the roadmap, helping you discover who you are and what you want to do, and be a bumper for you to not leave the path that you're supposed to be going, because we all like that shiny object.
Yeah.
Or we get down, disturbed, fatigued. That coach is someone that's going to keep you,
lift you back up and get you refocused and get you back on track. Without that, we can get that troubled file or the problem that you have right in front of you. You can auger down and it cripple you for days and days.
So what, if you rewind what Anthony just said, the question that he answered that we didn't ask was why get a coach, right? And you did a really great job of sharing that. So, if you're watching or listening to what we just said, what Anthony just defined for you are all of the reasons that you should say, hey, I want to get into this coaching and accountability game. And it's to take you to the next level or help you figure out the answers to challenges that you have faster than you would, on your own.
And the interesting thing is people don't realize how much of a lack of investment they make in themselves every day.
I was just going to, that's a great point.
They'll go to the bar and spend a couple $100 here and there. I mean, they will go buy the newest shoe, and all these things. But when it comes to the option of coaching, coaches charge money. They have to make a living. And when people say they can't afford it, it's more like, can you afford not to?
Sure.
So the concept being, how much would you be making with the direction of the coach and the assistance of the coach? How great would Kobe Bryant have not been if he did not have Phil Jackson? There's several. I mean, Floyd Mayweather's a hot topic right now. He's got great coaches.
Sure.
Great trainers, and you have to have that. And what's funny is the top coaches have coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
My coach, he has 3 or 4 coaches, and he pays them a lot of money, but you got skin in the game now, and he's getting wisdom from these guys, like we said before, that have spent 20 years trying to figure out the game.
Well, I think to that point, you're talking about having multiple coaches. Like, you've got a business coach Like I have a health and fitness coach. Her name's Ashley. I have a financial coach. His name's Fernando, right? I have a spiritual mentor. His name is Chris, right? And those are all coaches for different areas of my life that I want to improve on and get to ultimately where I'm trying to go faster. But also by investing in myself in that way, it allows me to learn and grow, to like your first point when we started. By learning and growing and constantly improving yourself, you're developing more value to add to other people down the road too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just about you, it's about how you're also going to serve others down the road as well.
Yeah. I mean, it feels great to help people.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an amazing thing. There's, you can't say there's one coach out there that doesn't care about his people. I mean, there's money involved in whatever. However, there's a genuine care for what you're doing because you had to learn to do that. Like, you don't just go, hey, I'm going to be a coach today. There is whether what program in you or you're not. You're a John Maxwell coach. Mm-hmm. So how much studying and time and learning the material and actually teaching. And I mean, there was, Wayne had me recording calls and Zoom meetings.
Yep.
And, okay, I would change that, or, hey, what do you think about doing it this way?
Yep.
It's not.
Sure there were prerequisites to it. Like for me, and I know you went through a similar program with Wayne, like I had to do some prerequisites. You've got to study these books or, audios or whatever. You've got to be able to articulate that you actually learned something from that. And then some of it was put into practice, like, hey, I'm going to get in front of a group of people and deliver this speech.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to let 10 people listen in on a coaching call. It was things like that where, hey, by the way, they're lifting my lid too, right? They're giving you the proper feedback so that you can serve other people. But to your point, like you put forth effort to get into the game, so to speak. And that's by, you're talking about, hey, you've got to make an investment in this as an individual. You made an investment in this to be able to help and serve other people, right?
Yeah. The fortunate thing is I had good people around me that led me into that direction. Laura Lynn Ball, for one. The first coaching program I probably really got into was Bold, Keller Williams Bold. And if you're a loan officer out there, what is your value add? Like, what is your value add to your not only your consumer, but your strategic partners, right? And so when she goes, go sponsor a Bold class. So if you're a LO and you don't know what Bold is
Business Objective Life by Design.
Very, very cool class, and it's 7 weeks long, I think. Mm-hmm. So with the realtor, to offset the costs, and to help with those things, that you have sponsors, and I got to sit through the class, so it was almost like paying the tuition for it. And you learn the things. And then, I did some Buffini, I did this, but I just started hanging out with different people who are coaches, and they push you along, like, why aren't you doing this? But I really got into it and started it as a value add to my referral partners because I got tired of the same thing. I remember sitting with Charlie Sundstrom in his office on the floor when we were developing VanDyk Mortgage's retail division, and I said, I threw this. We had all these marketing things. You go stop and drop them off for realtors, and everybody wanted you to pay them money at that point for, hey, do this with us and do this, right. And it was unauthentic. I'm a pretty authentic guy, and I remember taking this pack of papers and throwing it across the room, and I said, man, I'm just done with this. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I go, I want to do something different. So then we figured out, it was like, the best thing about coaches is they ask great questions. So we started out asking questions to our strategic partners, like, what do you need? What do you want? What do you like? What do you dislike? And that's kind of how we started with the perfect loan process, right? And the complete system and our systems that we use now. But that's why I got into coaching, because my value add then became going to a real estate office. I have more realtor clients right now than I do mortgage clients. I don't know why. They're not as apprehensive to have a mortgage guy.
Probably so.
Yeah, as other LOs at other companies are more apprehensive. Oh, Anthony's going to recruit me if I talk to him. No, that's not the case, because we do coach with LOs too. And shout out to Michael Fisher. He does a lot too with giving to LOs. I think it's a community that we need to be more flexible with, like intermingling with each other. Like you see,
we've got to collaborate.
Yeah.
We got to collaborate more.
Right.
In our business. I 100% agree. I think what you're saying is like we're afraid to share our successes with other LOs because they might go out and do it. Here's the reality, Anthony. They ain't going to freaking go do it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can give you all the secrets. The large majority of the LOs, unless they're willing to invest in themselves, are not going to go out and do it.
Yeah. Diane Griffin, you said this to me one time. I know I keep name dropping a lot, but there's some great people that have put me on this journey.
Helped you.
And was the top agent in our market center, owned a market center. She's on the big stage at family reunion, all this stuff. Yeah. And she gave a young LO I had the time of day. He showed up with a 6-pack of beer, and she let him come in, and he picked her brain. We became friends, and we're sitting at happy hour one time, and I said, Diane, why are you always so willing to give people your secrets? And she goes, you know, none of them are going to do it anyway. And the 1% that are, I want to be in business or in a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And I was just like,
great point. Yeah.
So Anthony, let me kind of move the conversation in a little bit of a different direction. We've talked about why somebody would want a coach or why they need a coach, right? And that goes a couple of layers deep. What should the coach and we'll just use the word player. What should the coach and player relationship look like?
Well, for one, you gotta know who each other are. I definitely am a fan of you should be interviewing your coach. Okay. So, you know, what does your coach specialize in? What is your coach? What's his history or her history of who they've worked with? What's their expertise in? And what does their program look like? Right? Does that match your personality type? It's going to be a little uncomfortable, and that's fine, because definition of success, learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. But you also need to know that it's someone that you're not too comfortable with, right? So still to this day, when I get on my calls with Wayne each week, he holds me accountable. Did you do your numbers? You know, kind of like our Monday morning meetings. What can I help you with? He asks a lot of great questions. You have to be willing. You can't just get a coach and decide you're going to be successful. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you have to be held accountable. And you can't just not show up.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest fear why people don't get a coach. They don't want to necessarily be held accountable. So, I mean, and that's...
You know, I don't know that it's always so much about accountability, though, right? And so, like, we've been talking about this among our leadership team together for the last couple of weeks, and that's like, hey, listen, you can tell me 5 things that went wrong this week, but you can't tell me one thing that went well.
Talk about it all the time.
Right? The freaking reality is 100 things went well, but we're focused on the 5 that didn't. And I think that coach brings you back into reality, you know, sometimes on that stuff. And, you know I talk to somebody every week too from a leadership coaching perspective. And that's one of the first things they say to me every week. Tell me what your wins were. I could rattle off all of the things that were frustrating and difficult for me in the last 5 business days since I talked to that person. Do you know how hard it is for me? I actually start thinking about it the night before. Like, they're going to ask me tomorrow what my wins were. And I have to slow down long enough to think about what they are. But I can rattle off all of those things that, like, were difficult in the week, right? So it's not always about the accountability piece. Man. Sometimes it's about your squash.
It is your squash. Pain's a stronger emotion, though. Yeah. Pain is a stronger emotion, and we talk about, like, I saw one of the things that we were going to talk about was how do you motivate, or how do you get someone to be accountable? And one of the things is we call it the pain, right? People are upset. It's just it's a more overwhelming thing. So, okay, John, you don't have this project done by Thursday, if you don't make your 100 phone calls, or if you don't go visit 17 people, what are we going to do? And that's what he always asked me, what are we going to do? What do you mean what I'm going to do? And I remember Wayne Salmons had this journal that he wanted me to fill out. Every year he makes us fill out the Epic Life Planner. And it took me I don't know why it took me so long to do it. Like, I put that thing off for like ever. And he goes, all right, when are you going to have that done by? Because it was like the last thing I had to get done in order for him to certify me as a coach. And I said, son, I'll have it done by Monday. All right, what are you going to do if you don't have it done? And I was like, what do you mean?
$1,000.
He goes, who's one of your competitors in the area that you really don't like? I was like, I like everybody. He's like, come on, man, dig deep. And I told him a name, and he goes, if you don't have it done by Monday, you're going to write a check for $500
there you go.
to them in a card and write a nice note to them. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that one
That's
hurts a little.
motivating.
That stings. Yeah. Not so much here, but here.
Right here. Yeah, we have to look at that in our lives too. It's like, what's important to us, what's not important to us. I think what having a coach is going to do for people too is, I know, is figure out who you are and what your true goals are. Mm-hmm. What's fascinating is there's so many people that don't have goals. So how can you figure your map out if you don't know where you want to go?
Can't measure your success.
I was going to say, how do you measure whether you're winning or not?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's it's kind of cliche, but one of the first things you should go through in coaching is, what is your why? And a lot of people teach in a lot of different ways. I love the way Hero Nation teaches it. Some people really love the way other programs do it. It just made sense to me. And once I figured that out, I realized I don't want to be that person or that person. I know what I want to be. And I think people need to realize that too, because if you keep comparing yourself to someone else because you think that is the definition of success, you will never win. Mm-hmm. And you will continuously be frustrated and have anxiety and stress. Having that why and then having the system back, the coach is going to help you develop the system and the tools to get there. So you focus on doing those that will get you there. That's your wins. Like, you make sure you do that every week, and it's a constant monitoring of it.
Well, I think too, to kind of tie that up a little bit too, your why, if you've got it nailed right, everything on your calendar points back to that. All right, so my big why is I want to add massive value to the people that are in my life, right, that I have influence with. And if I go through and I look at my calendar, regardless of what the activity is, I can point back and say, hey, that leads back to the why, right? And so even in the smallest thing, like, something that's been on my calendar for blocked off for a couple of hours each day is, we got a leadership meeting coming up this week that I've been preparing for, right? Even the prep time serves my why, right? If you're a loan officer and going to open houses or brokers opens to meet real estate agents so that you could build relationships, that activity, no matter what that activity is, should point back to, this is what my why is. If it's grounded in something like that, there's no finish line, right? So like at the end of the day, and like I say all the time, like here, we're trying to create a mortgage company that everybody wants to work at and nobody ever wants to leave.
Right.
No finish line. Like, we're never all going to get together and be like, hey, man, good job. You did it. You did it. Let's pop the champagne. We're out of here. Let's go. That's always going to drive us to what's next. What can we do better? How can we improve? How can we better serve? Right. And I think that's a lot of times where my why is, I want to have a red Lamborghini. What happens when you get the red Lamborghini? Or what happens if you don't get the red Lamborghini? To Wayne's point with you. What happens if you don't have this by Monday?
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, like, my car's pretty nice. I don't necessarily need the red Lamborghini. I can be content with what I have.
Yeah. Well, we also have
That's
to think
a dangerous word, content, though.
Yeah.
You have to be truthful to yourself, what you really want.
Right.
And I think a lot of us will find reasons to settle right? And just be content that, hey, you know, my business, I take what I get, but I'm not going to really have a purpose every day of doing these activities to try to grow my business and get more relationships. I mean, they're just content because, you know, let's face it, they're doing okay, right? They have a pretty good lifestyle, but they really, deep down, probably want to do a lot better. You know, I mean, some of the things I talk about, you could go surfing over on the east coast of Florida, or you could be a baller and go to Maui or Australia.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the vision board thing, I'm a big believer in vision boards. You know, put something that, you know, give yourself some goals. You talk about the red Lamborghini or whether it's a pickup truck, whatever you want, a vacation with the family. Put it up there. Remind yourself what your why is.
Mm-hmm. Truth, man, truth. It was big. It was eye-opening for my team this year. And like I said, when you have a coach, you learn things. And one of the things is we have a why document. I'll show it to you guys, and it helps you spell it out. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we realize is that we may be by writing down what your goal is for spiritual wealth, for your bank account, materialistic items and contribution. When you start physical health, when you start going through those and just jotting down what it is, it helped me to help them figure out what their why was. So when I have, I'm not going to say any names, but 2 LOs really took this and ran with it this year, and it freaking overwhelmingly made me feel great. And one of them is a fairly new LO, and she doesn't have a tremendous amount. I mean, she never was a huge producer. She saw the year she had, and, you know, she basically told me, like, I don't need to work. I don't need this because, you know, my husband's this, and I'm having a hard time, like, figuring out what my motivation. And so we went through this exercise. And her thing was, she goes, well, I went and met with my financial advisor, and he said I could retire in 20 years. You know, like, this is what I have to put in the bank account to retire in 20 years. She goes, I want to retire in 10. All right, so how much do we need to put away each month? Mm-hmm. And so we backed the numbers up to how many closings she'd have to how many pre-approvals that she would have to have, how many applications, how many meetings with people. And we formulated this plan, and now that's weekly talk or meeting. And another one that blew me away was I got a guy, he's an amazing LO, he's an amazing person, but he doesn't have a lot of needs or debt. And he's a simpleton, and I mean simpleton as he's a simple man. He's not real flossy and materialistic. But what it got to be is we found out that it got to contribution. And he really wants to help out these kids in his neighborhood because they don't have places to go after school and whatnot. He wants to start a youth center, and
nice.
And we started figuring out what's that going to cost. So that's now his motivation.
So again, like, that's one of those things, Anthony. No finish line.
Yeah.
Right. That children's center.
Sure.
There's no finish line of that. Like, because once you do it, then you got to put kids in it. Then you got to provide the programs to draw them in and all of that. That type of why, no finish line on it.
Yeah. Well, and you say too, like, you read the MREA book, is once you do hit your ceiling or whatever, so like this, then a new goal pops in your head.
Yeah.
But don't start working on that new goal until you hit the one, and that's what a lot of people do. Because then all of a sudden it's like
squirrel.
Yeah, you're everywhere. I've done it. I still do it day to day, but I have Wayne there to go.
Pull you back,
bro. You got too many. He told me this one time. You got too many hats on, man. Let's take some of those off.
Yeah.
Right? And it's hard because you want to do all this stuff, but he's right. If you focus on the things that you're going towards your goal, your life becomes uncluttered. You gain clarity. Clarity reduces stress and anxiety, and you start to enjoy your life and your job more.
Awesome.
And people feel it, right? Because
love it.
People are attracted by energies. If you're a negative person, you're going to attract negative people. If you're super positive, outgoing, people want to be around you. And let's face it, we all want to do business with people we like, love, and trust.
Correct.
So surround yourself with beautiful people.
All right, so that's a wrap on another episode of the Context to Contracts podcast. On behalf of John Jones, Anthony Mosley, I'm Bryan Lovell, and we want you to know if there's anything that you need, we're always here to serve.